I'd say the pain is almost indescribable.
Wow.
It feels like a rubber band at any point of your body, pulsating, super tight and then loose, and then super tight and then loose. And so now I'm functionally cured of sickle cell disease, and I can live my life normally and fulfill my dreams and aspirations of being a commercial pilot.
Imagine this. You have a chronic health condition. You were born with it and it affects you all the time. Intense pain, weakness, tiredness, and lots of time in the hospital. That is a reality for so many people around the world. What might not be so real, though, is hope for a cure. But for people with sickle cell disease, a disease that affects millions around the world, that could just be starting to change. A new life-saving treatment is now available in certain places around the world. And one of the first people to have it, Daniel Creasy, is joining us today. He's in Louisiana in the US and is the first person to have this treatment in his state. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for chatting to me. For people who don't know, what is sickle cell?
So sickle cell is a blood disorder, a genetic disorder, and essentially it makes your blood cells mutate into this crescent shape, and the normal blood cell is an O. There's also this protein called hemoglobin, where the normal blood cells has a lot of it, but the sickle blood cells don't carry that much. And so it's less efficient and it's more easy to clot because of the shape. And it also carries less oxygen to throughout your body. And so pretty much with all those factors combined, it can cause a lot of pain crises, and it kind of hinders you in your everyday life a little bit if you're not careful. And so the only way you can really get cured of it is through new therapies called gene therapy or a bone marrow transplant.
Now, you just said that it hinders your life a little bit, but it can have a big impact. So what was your life like day to day before you had the treatment?
Growing up, I was in the hospital very often. I was in the hospital maybe once a month. And each time I would go to the hospital, it'd be maybe 5 days. And the thing that would cause these crises is just living my life as a normal kid, like running, playing football, playing basketball, anything that required a lot of cardio would overexert my body, and essentially my blood would get to flowing. But because my blood isn't healthy, this blood flowing would more likely cause a pain crisis. A vaso-occlusive crisis is the technical term.
I want to know a bit more about the pain crises. So how much pain were you in on a scale of 1 to 10? How bad are they?
I'd say the pain is almost indescribable.
Wow.
The best way I can describe it is, well, one, it's a 10. It feels like a rubber band or something super tight at any given part of your body, typically your back, your stomach, your chest. But I also know that I had crises in my joints, such as my arms or legs, thighs. And it feels like a rubber band at any point of your body, pulsating, super tight and then loose, and then super tight and then loose. And it just continuously does that. And there's pretty much nothing you can do other than go to the ER, take pain medications, and like just numb the pain while your body tries to fix itself.
Daniel, I'll be back with you in a second, but let's hear more about sickle cell and your treatment.
So I'm Dr. Stephen Okoli. I've been looking after patients with sickle cell for about 25 years now. It is most predominantly found in those of African and Caribbean descent. So Black people, basically. That being said, we do see the disorder in other ethnic groups. So in the Middle East, there's a reasonable amount of sickle cell, and also in the Indian subcontinent as well. So gene editing for sickle cell is basically switching on a gene that normally doesn't work in adulthood. While we're fetuses in the womb, we produce what's called fetal hemoglobin. And fetal hemoglobin doesn't contain the abnormal component that we see in adult or sickle hemoglobin. So the whole theory of how this works is that you turn that gene that's no longer working back on, and as a consequence, you start to produce a hemoglobin that doesn't have the sickle mutation.
Okay, Back to you, Daniel. I just want to really understand what you went through for the treatment. So you said it took a really long time. How long are we talking?
Yeah, so I initially inquired about this treatment November of 2023, and I just got cured March of 2026. So about two years and 4 or 5 months.
For how much of that time were you actually undergoing the treatment?
April 2025 all the way till March 2026, I was constantly going to the doctor. Basically, what that looked like is first, I had to get a port placement in May of 2025. July of 2025, I got my first round of stem cell collections, which is basically you getting admitted to the hospital. They place a central line in your neck, and then they do 3 days of stem cell collections. Then they wait 3 months, September 2025, my next round of stem cell collections, where I'm in the hospital for 3 days to collect more. And then 6 months after that last collection, which would be March, that's when they finally admit you, give you chemotherapy. You're in the hospital for maybe 6 weeks. And about a week after your last dose of chemo, it's about 4 days of chemo, they inject you with your new stem cells. And I kid you not, the literal process of the reception of your new stem cells is just a syringe and then a push through your IV. And it's literally so anticlimactic, but that's pretty much how the cure works.
There'll be people watching or listening right now who have sickle cell, and they might want to know a bit more about the process to get it approved. Did you have to fight for this treatment?
Yes. The approval process was the hardest process. So essentially, the treatment is so expensive. It's over $2 million for the cheapest option. And there's one that's also over $3 million. I opted for the $2 million one. I figured that might be a little bit easier to convince the insurance. Essentially, you let your doctors know that you want this treatment. And at that point, there's not much you can do other than let them know that you're interested.
And now you have the all clear.
Yeah, now I'm cured. We actually just had a celebration over a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago at this point, where day 100 marks the day that my doctors can confidently say that this therapy has functionally cured me. And so now I'm functionally cured of sickle cell disease, and I can live my life normally and fulfill my dreams and aspirations of being a commercial pilot.
So why 100 days? I asked Dr. Okoli.
Before that 100 days, there are complications that can occur, not least the fact infection. So infections are a major complication associated with all transplant, not least sort of gene editing. And so basically what Daniel's had is he's had his own bone marrow stem cells, the cells that produce the hemoglobin, in this case of sickle, the sickle hemoglobin. They are taken from him, they're removed, and then they're modified and returned to him. So over the first few months, that first 3 months, that 100 days, the risk of infection is at its greatest. There are some other complications that are also problematic, but infection is the biggest one. So as you move away from that date, the new immune system, the immune cells are also made in the bone marrow. That new immune system is now bedded in, is now more functional.
Back to you, Daniel. Let's talk about life now. What has changed? What can you do now that you couldn't before?
I can run and walk long distances without getting tired or having to worry about a pain crisis. But also now the biggest thing for me is now I'll be able to fly, because with sickle cell, you're deemed ineligible or a flight risk. Essentially, they believe that you can have a crisis at altitude and then suddenly just fall down to the ground, I guess. But now that I'm cured, I have this opportunity to be able to fly and fulfill my dreams. And then on a day-to-day basis, I feel more lively. I don't feel as fatigued, because with sickle cell, your body actually works overtime to try to supply itself the nutrients that it needs. And so I get more satisfied off of smaller meals. My energy is more long lasting. I just feel great. And that's a simple way to put it.
You know, you smiled while you were saying all of those examples. You had such a nice smile on your face.
Thank you.
Daniel, it's been so lovely to speak to you. Thanks for being on What in the World.
Thank you.
So one thing that really stood out to me in that chat is the cost of this treatment. It is so expensive. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people aren't getting it yet. I asked Dr. Okoli about that.
Sickle is a disorder that predominantly affects those in the global south. And this treatment is unfortunately likely to be an option for the vast majority of them. However, there is work being done to try and deliver this treatment in a slightly different way, which is significantly cheaper and more easily deliverable. So this is sort of the first step, I think, on sort of a ladder to be able to develop a treatment that will be available to most, if not all, people who want it and who are eligible for it. I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but I'm optimistic that there is now an interest, and I think that's been one of the challenges previously, that sickle hasn't really got caught the eye of those who make the decision in these situations. Pharmaceutical companies haven't really invested in developing new treatments for sickle. That is changing. So I can see in the next sort of 10 years, 10, 15 years, that we have options that we can deliver to patients across the globe that will be similar to the treatment that Daniel's just received.
Before I go, I want to thank you for your comments on our video about how English is taking over the internet. I want to say thank you especially to one who left a great comment. They said, English is a bridge to connect countries and cultures, but I really enjoy learning other languages because they help me understand cultures more deeply. Thank you so much, Juan. Right, we'll see you again soon. I'm Emma Louise, and this is What in the World from the BBC World Service.